Hello and welcome to day 22 out of my 31 days of Halloween. So we'll start this look off by priming my eyes with a Beeluxury base in the shade 0.5. And then I go into the Morphe 3503 Fierce by Nature palette and use the shade called Disrupt. And I blend this into the crease. To darken it up a little bit more, I use the shade called Savage in that same palette and I blend it over where I've put that other eyeshadow and I also blend it out into a wing. To add a little bit of contour to this look, I use the shade called Stamina in the same eyeshadow palette and I concentrate this really into the crease and into the centre of the wing. I then cut the crease with the Beeluxury base in the shade 0 and I leave the inner corner of the eye open and I add a little bit of a wing on the outer corner. I then go into the Lunatic Cosmetics Labs Zombie Defense eyeshadow palette and use the shade called Gangrene and start to place this in the centre of the eye. I then use the shadow called Surfs Up in the Tarte High Tides and Good Vibes eyeshadow palette and place that in the inner corner of the eye. And for the outer corner of the cut crease, I go into the Urban Decay Heavy Metals palette and use the shadow in that called Amp. The eyeliner I use for this look is by Colourpop and it's their BFF liquid liner in the shade Numero Uno. I line my normal lash line but I also line the cut crease as well and join them up together and create a little bit of a graphic liner. Then I do my base and I use the Revlon Colourstay foundation in the shade Sand Beige, and then for the concealer I use the Colourpop No Filter concealer in the shade Light 10. I then use the eyeliner that I used before and just line my bottom lash line. I then use the Colourpop Jelly Matte Shadow in the shade Early Bird and I line underneath the eyeliner that I have put on my bottom lash line, and then I also line that with the black eyeliner that I have been using, and on one of the eyes I create the classic Cleopatra design underneath the eye. I just looked on Pinterest and Google for different reference pictures for this. It's just like a classic Egyptian design. And then I fill in my brows with the same eyeliner that I have been using. This is a nightmare to get out your brows, but it's really precise, so I just really wanted to use it. To highlight my brow bone and the inner corner of my eye, I use the London Copyright Highlight Palette and use the shade called Dazzle. Now it is time to sketch out the mummy zombie style part of this look. So I use a white eyeliner pencil and I start to sketch out the design on my face and my body, and then I go straight into the Morphe 3503 palette and start to use the different brown shades in that palette to create the shadowing and shading inside the holes in my skin that I'm creating. I also use the black eyeshadow in that palette as well to really intensify the depth of these holes and tears in my skin. I also add some lines on my forehead to act as wrinkles, but I do intensify these later on. I use the exact same techniques that I've used on the holes on my forehead to the mouth area. I then thought the skin around the ripped area on my face looked a little bit too perfect, so I added some shade into this area as well. I created a little bit of a sunken in eye on one of the sides, and in between the rips and things I've just added some shadow in, so it looks like the skin is slowly starting to kind of sink in a little bit. I add some wrinkles or kind of frown lines in between my brows before going back to the mouth area and sketching out the teeth with a white eyeliner pencil. I then fill in the rest of that mouth area that is going to be cut away with a brown eyeshadow. While applying this, I go up and down with the brush just to create a little bit of texture around the teeth area. To really define this area, I add some black eyeshadow to the shadowed areas. And like I said earlier, I do go back to the wrinkles on my head and just define them that little bit more. For the bandages on my chest, I use the Mayron Paradise Makeup AQ Charisma Blend Set in the shade Fury or Furry. This worked absolutely perfectly because all the different colours that are in this brick just worked perfectly and added the perfect texture to what I wanted. So I do really recommend this product for if you're painting on bandages. Once I've done that, I got a black face paint and outlined all the bandages, and then to add a little bit more of a cartoony feel and just a bit more texture, I got a white face paint and added some kind of lines and stripes to the bandages. Using that same face paint brick, I used the lightest shade in that face paint and started to paint on the teeth. I then used a dark brown eyeshadow and started to kind of define each tooth and just add a little bit of a gap in between them, and also made them look a little bit less perfect. The last bit of makeup I did was apply some mascara and then also add some eyelashes. The eyelashes I wore in this look are actually from Poundland. On one side they have a glittered colour and then the other side they're black. I have them in so many different colours because when I saw them I fell in love with them, but the one I used for this look is in like a turquoisey colour. Of course I wore a black wig and I also added this little Tutankhamun figurine I had from when I was really little, and I just kind of glued it to a headband and stuck it to my head. Let me know if you like this look by pressing the like button down below. If you are looking for some more Halloween inspiration, make sure you press the subscribe button and follow me over on Instagram. Over there my name is @Brooke_Ellis_. It's linked in the description down below, along with some other discount codes for you if you are interested. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!